Someone walks into the room. Their shoulders are tight, their eyes look tired, and before they've said a single word, your chest already aches for them. You didn't choose that. Your nervous system made the decision before your conscious mind even knew there was one. People call this a gift. Self-help culture tells you to protect it like rare gold. But here's what the neuroscience actually says. Your mirror neurons fire before your conscious mind gets a vote. By the time you decide whether to trust someone, your body has already opened the door. They're already inside. And this is the part that nobody wants to admit. You're not being manipulated because you're too nice. You're not being manipulated because you're weak. You're being manipulated because your brain was built to feel first and think second. And somewhere along the way, someone learned to aim that biology directly at you. Most videos on emotional intelligence will tell you empathy is your superpower. I want to show you the other side of that coin, because empathy isn't a moral virtue. It's a neurological mechanism, and every mechanism can be hijacked. Let's start with the man who proved it, Paul Bloom, Yale psychologist. His book is called Against Empathy. The title alone destroys careers in the wellness industry, but his findings are surgical. Affective empathy, the kind where you feel their pain in your own body, is not virtue. It's a cognitive bias machine. It's innately selective, innately parochial, innately manipulable. It favors whoever is closest, loudest, most visible. Not whoever is right, not whoever is honest. Bloom makes one distinction that changes everything. Compassion is functional. Caring about someone's well-being keeps you grounded. Empathy, the visceral, gut-level absorption of their pain, is the entry point. That's where the hijack happens. And now we need to talk about who's doing the hijacking, because you've been lied to about that too. You were told manipulators are cold, emotionless, robotic, calculating from behind glass. Dark triad, narcissist, psychopath, the classic villain template. But that profile is incomplete. In 2020, a researcher named Nadja Haim at Nottingham Trent University found something disturbing. She discovered the dark empath, someone who combines dark triad traits with high empathy. They feel you completely, and they use that feeling against you. Her data found these people make up 19.3% of the population. That's nearly 1 in 5, more common than the cold, classic dark triad type. And here's what makes them more dangerous. They build real rapport. They actually connect with you. They laugh at the right moments, cry at the right moments, hold the silence at the right moments, and still engage in guilt induction, social exclusion, and indirect aggression. Read that again. The person manipulating you may not feel nothing. They may feel everything and use it as a scalpel. Think about that ex-partner you couldn't understand, the one who seemed so deeply attuned to your wounds in the first month. Then use those exact wounds as pressure points by month 6. You weren't imagining the connection. The connection was real. The weaponization was also real. Both things existed at the same time, and here's why your brain couldn't separate them. Elaine Hatfield spent decades studying something called emotional contagion. Her finding is unsettling. Emotions transmit between humans neurologically, through unconscious facial mimicry, through microshifts in posture, breathing rate, vocal tone. Your mirror neurons fire automatically before critical thinking can even raise its hand. Which means a manipulator doesn't have to be strategic. They don't need a plan. They don't need a script. Simply displaying distress in front of you is enough. Enough to activate your empathic response. Enough to bypass your evaluation entirely. Their tears reach your nervous system before their words reach your judgment. And here's the part that breaks people. The more genuinely empathetic you are, the faster you deplete. This is documented. It has a name. Charles Figley called it compassion fatigue. And depletion doesn't make you wiser. Depletion makes you weaker. Tired empathy is sloppy empathy. Exhausted nervous systems lower their gates, which means the empathy that cost you the most in one relationship is the exact entry point for whoever comes next. The wound becomes the welcome mat. And this pattern repeats, sometimes for decades. Now here's where it gets even more personal. Pete Walker, trauma therapist, named something most people have never heard of: the fawn response. You know fight, you know flight, you know freeze. Fawn is the fourth one, and it's the one no one warns you about. For many high empathy adults, the empathy itself is partly a trauma adaptation. A nervous system that learned very young that reading a caregiver's mood was survival. If mom was angry, you smiled. If dad was silent, you performed. If the room got tense, you became whatever the room needed. What looks like a personality trait is sometimes a hypervigilant alarm system. An alarm system that was never allowed to turn off. So now, as an adult, when someone's emotional state shifts in front of you, your body still treats it like a survival event. Their frown becomes your emergency. Their silence becomes your guilt. Their pain becomes your project. And here's the most brutal finding of all. Knowing this intellectually doesn't fix it. You can read every book on manipulation. You can memorize every red flag list. Your mirror neurons will still fire. Knowing someone might be manipulating you doesn't stop the wave from hitting your nervous system. The vulnerability is neurological, not cognitive, which is why intelligent, self-aware, well-read people still get burned. Again, and again, and again. You're not stupid. You're wired. And the wiring doesn't care what you know. So if knowledge isn't the firewall, what is? Here's where most videos on this topic miss the actual mechanism. You can't shut off your empathy. Don't try. The goal isn't to go cold. The goal isn't to become suspicious of every human you meet. The goal is to build a gap, a small, deliberate gap between emotional activation and behavioral response. That gap is everything. Let me show you the exact sequence happening inside you. Step 1, signal received. Someone's pain enters your perception. Step 2, empathy activated. Your mirror neurons fire. Their emotion becomes a sensation in your chest. Step 3, obligation generated. Your brain translates that sensation into, I must do something. Step 4, behavior. You apologize. You sacrifice. You stay. You give. You explain. You fix. Now here's the critical insight. Manipulation enters at step 2. But you cannot intervene at step 2. By the time you feel the feeling is already there. You can only intervene at step 3. That is the only door you have. And here is the question that holds that door open. I call it the signal versus obligation firewall. One question, inserted at the only moment you can actually intervene. The question is this: is this feeling mine to act on, or mine to feel and release? Read it again, slowly. Is this feeling mine to act on, or mine to feel and release? Because feeling someone's pain is not a contract. Let that land. Feeling someone's pain is not a contract. You were trained very early, often in a house you couldn't escape, to treat emotional activation as an automatic action trigger. Feel it. Fix it. Earn safety. That loop kept you alive as a child, and it's bleeding you dry as an adult. The firewall doesn't close your empathy. Your empathy is not the problem. The firewall breaks the hardwired connection between feeling the signal and treating it as your responsibility to fix. You can feel someone's sadness fully without becoming the architect of their rescue. You can witness pain without dissolving into it. You can love deeply without offering yourself as the sacrifice. This is the distinction nobody taught you. Feeling someone's pain and being responsible for it. Two completely different things. One is a gift. The other is the door manipulators walk through. You're not broken for feeling everything. You're vulnerable because no one ever drew the line for you. Now you draw it yourself. But here's what no one talks about. People with this level of empathy don't go cold after they've finally been burned. They do something far more psychologically interesting. They forgive completely. They let it go. They never bring it up again. And somewhere deep inside, they store every single detail with perfect surgical clarity. Forever. That's not emotional maturity. That's a very specific survival architecture. And if you want to know what it's called, and why you built it, watch the video on your screen right now.